Alright, looks like the notification went out. I'll wait a minute. Angelfish are doing well, as you can see. Doing nicely. I just gave them a water change today. Alright. Well, I guess we'll get started. Today I want to go over everything. I don't know. Let's see. Alright, I pulled up my notes. I think we have all pretty much been in the hobby for a little while now, right? Like, even somebody who started a couple of months ago can see just through research alone how things have changed and how quickly discussions of certain things can change. When I got into the hobby, I was a child, and it was really difficult to access information. And I did things that I probably shouldn't have. So I want to talk about the people who founded this hobby, right? Now, I'm not going to go on to specific controversies or like specific people. That's not what this is about. It's about taking a look back and seeing how far we've come. The people that I'm calling the founders of the hobby don't have a specific like time frame. They're just notable people. I'm sure you can think of a bunch of them, right? These founders, they might not have been up to modern standards for a various amount of reasoning, whether it was one thing or the next. We'll dive deeper into their more questionable or interesting things that they've done in a little bit. What we will focus on is things like acknowledging these founders as historical figures and not idols or people we should look up to in the modern age. We have better tools and better knowledge and better access to things, so we can do better. I've broken these founders up into 3 groups of types of people, right? So we have the collectors, so people who collected fish, authors and their publishing houses and businessmen, or what we call now like influencers, right? These people brought fish into the hobby. They wrote guides, and most of all, they popularized the current modern hobby. Now, even though they contributed so much, they had their faults. I mean, these people are human. I mean, from poaching to over collecting to elitism and the focus of money and becoming a big person, like a big name. These people were pioneers and also opportunists. These founders, one second, I'm so sorry. Sorry about that. I had to usher my child to sleep. Um, these people were pioneers and opportunists, both great and bad. Now, I want you to think, should we celebrate these pioneers, these founders, these figures for what they gave us? Or do you think that we should focus more on their flaws? The early hobby was a much different place than what we have now. The standards that they had for care were mostly based on word of mouth, or trial and error. There wasn't a lot of laws against poaching, and if there were, in certain people's times, it was either get the fish or don't have it at all. Some never really had the forethought to think about how many fish they were actually taking and what it could do to the ecosystems. And more thought that fish keeping should be a way to make money, or even that a certain type of person should be able to keep fish and others couldn't. This over collection and elitism and profit driven attitude still exists in the hobby today. And that's not something that we want to take from these founders. The hobby should, especially with the vast knowledge that's out there, be a place for everyone. It shouldn't be about making money or, hold on, I got that. my phone in. One second. Okay. The hobby shouldn't be a place where we think that these fish are a way only to make money. And it sure shouldn't be a place where people feel like they need to have a certain status to be a part of it. Welcome in, Aquarium Fantasy. My week was pretty good. Thank you for coming in. So with this, do y'all have any experience with elitism or the money first or money making? Specifically, money making. Hold on a second. Jeff, I don't think it can exist without it being about money in a capitalist country. I think that that is correct. And I'm not saying that it's wrong or bad to make money off of your fish. What I'm saying is that money over fish health or what, like general like welfare or caring is bad, right? Like it's not, you're not, I like to use the example of caged chickens. It's always better to have healthy livestock. Yeah, you'll make money off of it, but you want the best life that it's had, right? When it goes to a person's plate, you want that to be the best animal product you can make it, and not just cram a bunch of them in a cage, fatten them up, and put them on people's plates, right? So when I say money first thinking, I'm talking about having these animals and not caring about their welfare as long as they're making babies. And yes, 100%, there is elitism in the modern hobby, especially in the fish tube creator world. I agree, Jeff. I agree. Elitism is and always has been an issue in everything, right? But I think especially something like the fish hobby, which is so adjacent to science and education, we see a lot of it here. You have to have this specific thing, or you have to do this specific expensive way, or if you don't have money, you shouldn't have fish. But we look around the world and we see places that don't have any money, like countries that don't have any money, and they're raising fish out in tubs in their backyard, and the fish are doing wonderfully, right? Like, you don't have to have all these extra things while they're nice. It's not something we need. Fish are all hiding over there by the intake. But it's hard because, like, everybody wants the best for any of their animals, right? But it comes to a point where it's like, okay, do I really need this $5,000 thing to keep this fish, or is there another way? I want to move on to the next section. If y'all have any comments or anything, let me know. Oh, let's see. It is a power thirst issue, and the individual person not created by participating in the hobby or YouTube. It's on display because of YouTube. Hold on. It is a power thirst issue, and and on the individual person, not created by participating in the hobby or YouTube. It is on display because of YouTube. So are you saying that because people on YouTube are showing off their things, they're more likely to be elitist or want more expensive, proper, pretty things? That's all right. I typed slow too. I'll be in a live chat. I'll be like, hi, and like 50 people will say hi back, and I'm like, okay, I'll see y'all in 20 minutes once I stop typing everybody's names. I don't know if you can see Longfin, but the Longfin angels, fins are starting to heal up, which is great. Even if they weren't on YouTube, they would still have the same personality flaw, but it wouldn't be on display. So it's more that people on YouTube have a personality that is more in the direction of being elitist or in some way wanting fine things. Oh, you can kind of see the long fin right now. Poor thing. It's definitely doing so much better. I'm glad I could get them into the 75 gallon quickly. And they've been in the 75 for about a week now. And everybody's doing well. They're just a bad person and they happen to keep fish and be on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, that's in every hobby. Yeah, there's plenty of those here. Let me go back to my note. Something that I wanted to highlight, it's a huge difference between the past and our founders and the current modern hobby is the internet. It is so much easier to get opinions and information and firsthand experiences than it ever was even 20, 30 years ago. We can go on to a live stream like this one and ask somebody for firsthand experience, or we can search on Google or Chat GPT, and I mean, there's those issues too. We'll get into that. But you can go on the internet or go on to a piece of technology and share or receive as much information as you want. And that's not something that people, especially the founders, had. It was trial and error and suffering for the fish that passed away. And when you kind of think about that, and they were grabbing these large amounts of fish from the wild, trying to bring them in to their facility or their home and breed them to make them more popular, right? Be able to get them out to more people, to make money, to just have them around. It doesn't matter. They had to take these fish in and figure it out. Simple things like, especially like if we're going all the way back to like the Victorian era or even before then, they didn't have the ability to test the water parameters. They just kind of had to guess. And a lot of fish died. And a lot of fish didn't, or we wouldn't have them, right? But there was definitely a trial and error period for any fish that is in the hobby now. Taking a fish, even like a goldfish from Asia that's been cultivated for thousands of years, and bringing it into your own native waters was trial and error, because your water could be completely different from the water that they were raised in. Again, thinking back, the pioneers, the founders, they took all these fish and had to figure it out. There was no going on to Google and typing, how do you take care of this fish? It wasn't something that happened. It wasn't something that people could go on and do, right? There was also very little or no scientific data. I mean, we look at this in the modern context and we go, wow, there's like nothing here. And like the tidbits that we have is typically from food fish or environmental wild populations, like environmental science, or for like conservation and preservation of species or pollution, right? We don't really have these like tests for fish in home aquariums. But they didn't have anything. They were the ones that were trying to figure this stuff out. So yeah, we have more awareness, ethically, knowledge-wise, like we have better tools, we have better communication. We can call up Susie Joe down the street and go, I want an angelfish, where they couldn't do that. They had to go out, get an angelfish from the wild, or find one of the very few people in their area that had an angelfish, right? And it's just different. The spread of information and knowledge is vast. So is the spread of misinformation. I mentioned ChatGPT earlier. It can be a great resource, or it can be the worst thing that happened, right? It all depends on everything, right? Like you cannot take things from one source. You have to look at a bunch of information, and we have that. So how is misinformation treated by the founders, right? Like you had to figure it, again, like they had to figure it out. And while we have plenty of resources, we can kind of switch from one to the other and make our own decisions. So I ask y'all, what modern tool or resource or bit of knowledge, like what modern tools do you think have changed fish keeping the most? I think the internet. I can sit here and talk to y'all on this live stream and share all my opinions. I could sit here and tell you all the books I've read and all the websites I trust. Welcome in, Sonny. Hope you're having a good time zone wherever you are. I think the internet is an amazing thing and a horrible thing all at once. Sonny, if you are just coming in, we're talking about how the internet has changed fish keeping. Or just communication technology in general. Hello, Zini. Test things, but as safely as possible. I do it with fish. I just have a backup tank. For example, a scary mount doesn't line up with what is packaged as facts at fish stores. Fish stores are interesting. There's good ones and bad ones. But at the end of the day, a fish store is a business. It needs to make money, and it wants to make money off of you. I would take anything anyone says with a grain of salt when they're trying to sell you something. Jeff, I lost faith in 95% of available information. Me too. And that's why I think it is so important to check multiple sources and try things. Like if somebody, I think there's this great example. If somebody on the internet tells you that copper, like a copper treatment for your shrimp is the best thing that you can do for them, right? And you do it at this high concentration and all this person's shrimp were fine, and then you do it and all your shrimp die. If you were to have researched, okay, is copper bad for shrimp, then you would have known a high concentration of copper would kill your shrimp, right? But for smaller things, you have to look. I like looking at books. I like my older books, and I like finding information out of those, talking to some people, looking on some websites, watching some YouTube videos, asking people things in person, going to my local fish store, asking their opinion, getting this huge web of information, and then pulling things out and trying them, right? Like butterfly fish needing live food. False. Also, hello. Welcome in Mexicali. Thank you. I just did a water change, so hopefully the water is super clear. Welcome in. Trial and error always works. The best information is your own experience. True, it's just sad it's packaged as fact, and they act like it's for the good of the animal whilst looking you in the eye, full well knowing they're selling you something that is going to likely end. Yeah, Zini, it's a big issue. Sonny says, I like books also. Mexicali, to me, the best learning experience was through errors I have committed. I agree. Everybody makes mistakes. Rounding it back to the topic, the founders also made mistakes, right? They learned through trial and error and had different resources than us. Ooh, let me get my notes back up. Sorry. I'm so professional. So the question, since more people have came in, uh, actually, I'm gonna move on from that. Um, I want to know, how did you first learn about fish keeping? Like, did you like learn about it? Um, did you learn through books? Did you learn through the internet? Did you learn from somebody else? Did you have a mentor? How did you learn about fish keeping? Or your fish? Or trial and error? I like to see that. Books, internet, other people, trial and error. Are you more of a founder or more of a modern person? For anybody that's watching this on the replay, I know we're pretty late here. Um, Feel free to comment any of the answers to these questions. Um, in the comments. I'd love to see your answers to these questions. I almost hope it's out of ignorance. It's not. It's not. Um, I almost hope it's out of ignorance rather than trying to get money out of setting up people up for failure. It's not, unfortunately. Some of it might be, but most of the time it's not. I think that it's a better business practice to set people up for success because they'll keep coming back to you. And every time they come back, they might buy a bag of food or some frozen food or some live food, or maybe they'll come buy a couple more fish, or they'll buy something like when you have a big sale going on for like fish tanks or something, or one day they'll come in and it'll be like, oh no, my canister filter, it broke, and I know you guys are great, so I'm gonna come here instead of waiting on the internet for a couple of days to get a new canister from Amazon. I'm gonna come to y'all and make this huge purchase, you know? Let's see. By doing it as a kid, I worked at a store to learn the quote, proper, unquote way. Let's see. I can't really remember. I liked animals forever. Was always interested in animals. Had a tank in the house as a kid. Was hooked from there. Yeah. I I've had fish most of my life. I mean, I got my first fish when I was like 3, you know, like they were always in the house. I've always had a fish, whether it was like a single bed of fish or something. I've always had fish. And if I didn't have fish, my father had fish, or my mom. I learned about keeping from the internet and from older books. I think that's like going to the library and looking up animal care books for the reptiles that I kept and the fish that I wanted when I was a kid was always something I loved doing. And why like older fish books are so important to me, because these are the things that I pulled out of the dusty library shelves and dusted off and read, and all the pictures, the beautiful descriptions, and the idea of people going out and collecting these fishes and producing them for anybody to have. I learned from the local fish store in a book they recommended. Yeah. People eventually get wise and they'll get fired or go out of business. As Tony Stark said, not a great plan. Long term, anyway. Yeah. Let's see. how does your fish keeping journey reflect how the hobby has evolved, right? So, like, personally, mine, I started with books and trial and error, and then I got older and I started communicating with other people and looking for things on the internet, and you know, I think that says a lot about the hobby in general. A lot of people around my age and older started out with books and word of mouth and other people. And then now people who are younger than me typically start out on the internet. I was a kid out in the creeks as much as possible, reading fish keeping books and magazines. Got a kick that was sold with an under gravel filter. Quit keeping fish and amphibians and reptiles back in 2000. I started again in 2018 or 19. That's awesome, Sonny. Gotta love the the creek fish. Yeah. I've always loved nature. I used to go on hikes a lot. Now that I'm older and can't do as much of the stuff that I could before, I really like sitting and watching my fish in my house. I think my main takeaway is that the founders of the fish keeping hobby are people. And they made mistakes and they had their controversies, especially inside and outside of fish keeping, and there were plenty of issues. I do want to focus on poaching and over collecting for a second. Yes, it was necessary to do that in some instances in the early hobby. By no means is it okay now. I don't condone it. I don't condone it for the founders. I understand why, especially with trying to get fish that you couldn't, and how hard and difficult it was to get these fish, and how it's not anymore. 1 second, I need a sip of water. It used to be so hard to get these fish, and I understand why people went out and got these fish in any way that they could. But most of us can go down to a fish store and get any fish that we want, or an alternative or a similar fish to it, or we can order fish online. I think it's really important to educate ourselves about where our fish come from. Learn from the mistakes that the founders made. And don't be elitist. Anybody can keep fish. Remember that these are animals, and while you can make money and support yourself with the hobby in certain circumstances, it shouldn't be what it's all about. With the founders, it really wasn't poaching though. There was no rules or regulations in the beginning, and everything was a commodity, including people. Um, so when I talk about founders, I'm not talking about a specific time period, right? So founders could be anyone pre-internet popularity. So like pre-2010, like anyone pre-2010, right? Founders, people that are built up the current modern hobby, right? So like yes, in the earliest reaches of the hobby, you're right, 100%. Um, that's why I kind of use over collecting for the beginning and then poaching for the end of the beginning, right? Yeah. Cece, are you opposed to collecting fish from the wild? No, not completely. I do think that there is some need for it, especially like if we're looking at saltwater fish. Saltwater fish do not breed well in captivity. And I'm not saying it's just saltwater fish that are able to be wild caught, in my opinion. Freshwater fish can. As long as you're not over collecting and you're doing things legally, I don't see a huge issue with it. Let's see. They had to get the original fish from somewhere. Just do it until you can get a sustainable breeding population in captivity. Exactly. And do it legally. Follow laws, especially if you're traveling somewhere that you don't know the laws. Make sure you're following the laws. The whole economical system is based on fish collecting. That's what project. I'm not going to pronounce this right, am I? Paeba has documented. Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst thing. Just make sure, first of all, as a consumer of fish, you know where your fish are coming from and if they were sourced legally or bred. And as a collector, make sure that you are following the local laws of the areas that you are getting from and only take what you need. Other than that, no. There are instances where I do feel poaching could be extremely important. We pollute more than people, corporations / governments um, admit. If poaching a species in order to prevent extinction, I do support that as a justified reason. In corrupt areas, I can totally understand that sentiment. Here in America, I don't really think that you can collect most any fish here in America as long as you have a fishing license and you're not in a restricted area. Um, I'm not sure about like the world's laws, right? But uh, most of the time, from my understanding, you just need a permit um, to get a fish. And then it's not poaching. It's responsibility collecting. Now, in an area that would not let you do that, ever, in any circumstance, you had absolutely no other way to get that fish, maybe. I don't know. That's a very specific circumstance and a very hard question or scenario, I mean, to think about, right? Because I don't, 'cause 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 I don't I don't really see I don't really see where that would be something that like a person would have to do, I guess. We extinct a lot in the US. It would be a sales reason, it would be a science reason. Yeah. But I don't know about a lot of countries, but like here there's not a lot of um, laws against collecting fish. And if there is, you just need a permit to collect that fish. And I think that's pretty much how it is in most countries. Yeah. Like the single location of a good inn, a business built a place on. Sorry, my phone is far away. I can't see. I need glasses. Welcome in, price tag. Joe. Yeah, I mean, I think that here you can collect pretty much anything, or you just need a permit. I don't really know the laws around like if a place is being destroyed like here in America, if you would get in trouble for taking a fish out of the wild, especially if you had a fishing license. I'm not sure on the legalities of that. And then if it's not illegal, it's not poaching. Poaching is very a legal term, you know. I don't know. I'd have to look into it. What was I saying before? Oh yeah, I think something we can take the best. In Wisconsin, hold on. In Wisconsin, you would get in trouble like with the law without additional specialty licensing. I had to process that for a moment. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Hmm. I don't know. Potential fines for moving a fish that was gonna die anyway. That's interesting. Laws definitely need to be brought up with that. Absolutely ridiculous. That one angelfish is real chunky. There's a potential for moving viruses. Yeah, but like you could take any fish out of the wild and it could potentially have a virus. The black angels I call my goth angels. I don't know. I would fight that a lot, Jeff. I would. I mean, I think in that specific circumstance, I might just take the fish. Prove that I took it from there. I don't know. That's stupid. It's gonna die. Either way, right? If it has a virus, so be it. I don't know. That's weird. I don't like that. Laws are weird. Does a special licensing cost like thousands of dollars like it does in other states? I think that um, people who make laws about animals know absolutely nothing about animals and should consult people that do. There's always a possibility of radioactive shrimp, you know. I was a little bit worried because I buy frozen shrimp here, one of the states that there was radioactive shrimp in. Thankfully, it was just the raw shrimp, and I don't buy that. I buy the cooked shrimp, both for me and the fish. There was a lot of ridiculous laws put in place in 2016 that I didn't know happened until way after the fact. And I was involved with the fishing game when it was pushed through under the table. Oh, goodness. I hate that. Of course it was pushed through under the table because they knew that if they talked to literally anybody about it, they would they would be like, that makes no sense. You can't do that. Yep, they're too arrogant to consult real experts. Yep, see me. I know better, we think. Absolutely ridiculous. So I'm going to go back through a couple of the questions I asked and answer them while I can. Let's see. I asked, should we celebrate the founders for what they gave us, or should we focus more on their flaws? Obviously, I think that we should celebrate them for what they gave us while realizing they had flaws. They're not perfect. They're not idols. They're not gods. They're historical figures, even if they're not super historical. I asked, do you see examples of elitism or money before fish welfare thinking in the hobby today? Obviously, we do. In my opinion, see both of those. I asked, what modern tool or resource do you think has changed fish keeping the most? And my answer is the internet. I asked, how did you first learn about fish keeping? Books, internet, other people, trial and error. And my answer is books, trial and error, then internet and word of mouth. Does your fish keeping journey reflect how the hobby has evolved overall? And I would say yes. So let me check the chat real quick. There was a virus called VHS recorded somewhere in Wisconsin, and everything went on lockdown legally, at least. I'm pretty sure it was VHS. Okay, well, I've had fish with VHS before. They're bad. It's a horrible virus, so I could see like some reasoning. And the biggest reasoning that a government would have to ban things because of VHS is because it affects food fish. And it wipes out fish farms. Let's see. I asked if I could get a pair of endangered top minnow species here in Tennessee and got no response. Yeah, I would read your laws, look at the fish and game and see like things that you can't take. And if it's not on there, you should be okay. Going off of what Jeff said about bait, see what your laws are about keeping fish bait, like keeping it instead of releasing it. I believe it was recorded on a farm, never seen it again to my knowledge. Yeah, that happens a lot, unfortunately. Alrighty, we're almost at the hour mark. I do want to remind everybody that I am selling art, physical art. If anybody is interested in getting a digital or physical art piece from me, please let me know via email or on my Discord PM, Instagram, anywhere you can find me. You can find it in my bio thing, and I have the Linktree link. You can send me a message in any of those social medias. I am currently working on a piece here. It's a little discus. Ouch. I will have smaller, this size. These smaller artworks available. These are 5 by 3 or something. I'm selling these 5 by 3, I believe, canvases for $25 each plus shipping. If you are going to the Keystone Clash and you buy one of these little artworks, please let me know and I can just bring it with me and you don't have to pay shipping. If you want a digital art, obviously there's no shipping cost. The cost on the artwork depends on what you want. All proceeds go to me going to the Keystone Clash. Mostly because I would like to eat. Everything else is settled. I just, Also, if you want any Medaka, please let me know. I am selling a couple of small batches. And I can bring them to the Keystone Clash with me so you don't have to pay for shipping. Now all that is out of the way, I should be live again on Sunday talking more about fish. Do you have any listed? What do you mean listed? I don't know. I don't have any. I don't have like a eBay or anything. The art. Listed. Where? While I'm waiting, I hope that y'all enjoyed everything. I tried so nice to just put everything together. Um, let's see. Not just a place to see what you have available. Um, typically I post in Discord. I can throw in some examples this weekend. There's also Instagram. I think I'm going to be pushing a lot this weekend. And I'm trying to finish up some of these paintings so I can post them physically and you can see them. I am going to do an angelfish one, a discus one, a Madaka one, a Cooloach one. I don't know, something else. I think that it's going to be 12 paintings ish all together. I can make one on this Discord server. I'm gonna do the big push this weekend, so I'll ping in announcements, I think, once I have everything set up. I want to get the stuff done. I will also physically show some of the paintings that I've been working on, besides the large discus one that I showed here, on Sunday. So I have some more time, a couple more days to get these things done and dried. But yeah, thank y'all so much. I'm gonna head off now. I will be back maybe Sunday, maybe next week, Wednesday. We'll see. Thank y'all for watching. Bye.